is a Workers' World media production coming to you from Studio 2 at CTV Broadcasting Centre in Salt River. Thursday nights, and we're live with another opportunity to see us again on Sunday nights, 6 p.m. This program is broadcast on the Cape Town transmitters of CTV, free to air on channels 32 and 67 in the Cape Town metropolitan area, as well as nationwide on the DSTV platform of channel 263. In a moment, a group discussion of social issues in South Africa, and we will be giving our contact information so you could also participate. As we come on air with a special program on debating farm workers in South Africa, we have an hour-focused long talk discussion program about this and especially the effects that strikes may have on workers and employees. The team is ready. Helga Jansen Dabau is keeping it all together, and it's time to say that Workers' World starts right now.
From England to Poland, every step across the ocean, the ruling classes them is in a mess. Oh yes, the capitalist system and regrets, but the
Welcome to our weekly labour show, Workers' World on Cape Town TV. I'm Helga Jansen Daubia. For over 3 weeks, workers at Robertson Winery in the Western Cape have been on strike in support of their demands for a living wage. During late 2012 and early 2013, farm workers rose up in their thousands in the Western Cape and went on strike in support of a decent minimum wage and several other key demands. Their demand at the time for 150 Rand per day was not met, and farm workers are still struggling to improve their conditions of employment. The Robertson Workers' Strike, organised by the commercial Stevedoring Agricultural and Allied Workers Union, CSAAWU, is an indication that all is not well amongst workers in the agricultural sector. In today's show, we take a closer look at the Robertson Winery strike and the situation of farm workers in South Africa. Before we get into it though, let's introduce you to our guests. Rosalind Engelbrecht from the Women on Farms project and is the Labour Rights Coordinator. Welcome, Rosalind.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Trevor Christians, the General Secretary of CSAAWU. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Danico Dube is the CSAAWU organizer on the farms. Welcome, Danico.
Thank you.
And Emil Maseku from the Robertson Committee. Welcome, Emil.
Thank you.
Before we get into the discussion, we also joined in studio by workers from the Robertson farming community who are on strike, and we say welcome to all of them. Thank you for joining us. But before we get into the discussion, our Workers' World editorial team produced this feature documentary. Stay tuned.
Robertson Winery strike for imali encinci sipeyayo. Robertson Winery sipeyiswa i-3,000 ngenyanga.
Ons veg eigenlijk voor een beter salaris, een beter toekomst. Daar is bij ons nog zekere mensen wat een bedrag krijgen van 3.400 rand. Wat voor mij volgens mij is onaanvaardbaar. Voor de harde arbeid wat ons doen. Het voel ik als in die uur wat ons inzet, die tijd wat ons inzet daar, dat is een beetje bij je min.
Basebenzi badimanda i-8,500 i-labor. I-operator zona zifuna i-10,000 zidimanda zona imali nge-10,000. Kwaye ngoku umlungu wethu yena uqale wasinika i-6%. Sala kuyamkela i-6% kuba incinci. Waphinda wasathetha sihlala etafuleni vere wayinyusa kancinci nge-7%. Nalapha siyamkela simxelela bathi nasifuna i-percentage. Kuba i-percent asikwazi uthenga ngazo, sifuna i-living wages. Sina sidimanda i-8,500, asijiki kuloo nto.
Die CEO het aangebied 8%. Sal sê ek by baie nie, maar 5,400, 5,300, dit wissel so maandeliks. Vir myself, ek is 'n enkel ouer, ek is al behoudwinner in huis. ek kom self uit met die geld nie. Wat te sê van die mense wat nog minder as ek by. Ek sê ek doen dit vir myself wat ek vandag in die struggle is. Ek doen dit vir ander mense ook wat baie minder as ek by.
Robertson Winery nangoku akazulunga ngoba xa siya ngasese sine 20 minutes esinikwayo. Lo mcimbi ke i-tea time yonke uya ngasese uyotya, if utye ngapha kale 20 minutes uzopenalizwa, and xa upenelizwayo upenelizwa unikezwa i-warning, funeka uyisayine uphinde futhi nasemalini yakho utsalele imali office ke ngoku basipenalize kabini.
Ons werk hard by Robertson Winery. Vir die afgelope paar maande was dit so ons moet laat werk en ons moet die tanke leeg maak. Dan gaan ons 10 uur pas 10 na uit. En dis nie in die weekie, dis sommer Vrydag aan ook. Wat van ons kinders wat vir ons ook wag? Hulle klim in hulle karre, hulle ry na hulle huise toe. Ons moet stap, party aan. Dit is net nie reg van my nie. Maar ek staan hier vandag nie vir my kinders en vir myself nie, as vir die ander komers ook.
Kufana nento yokubana ngabana ukulelwa ngumntana funeke ureporte kuqala before uhambe uthatha umntana umse kwagqirha. Maybe umntana uvuke ekseni egula awuyazi into banga bazokwenza njani, funeka uqala usende report before use umntana.
Wat ek net wil vra vir die mense daar buite is, ondersteun asseblief vir ons in hierdie saak. Moenie hulle produkte koop, moenie hulle wyn koop. Ek lees so baie op hulle Facebookblad. Hulle maak die lekkerste wyne en hulle geniet dit so en maar hulle weet nie waarvan dit kom, hulle weet nie wat se harde arbeid ons daar ingesit het om die finale produk aan hulle te bied wat hulle so geniet nie. Die oorwinning is naby. Victory will reign.
R3000 is nie geld nie. Vandag kan jy nie meer werk vir R3000 nie. Forward CSAAWU, forward R8,000.
Welcome back. If you're joining us, you're watching Workers' World on Cape Town TV. We are talking the Robertson strike. Now, Trevor Christians, General Secretary of CSAAAWU, tell me, where do these demands come from? Tell us about the strike.
Yeah. The strike has started 24th of August, whereas the workers give the union a mandate to negotiate R8,500. Now the workers' position is that we should not negotiate percentage, because workers said percentage reinforced apartheid low poverty wages, and workers want to break that. And that's why workers give us an overwhelming mandate to go for 8,500. You see, workers said they don't have enough food to eat. They will never, ever be in a position to ensure that their children can go through the gates of university. So the battle of workers is also to restore the human dignity of workers in the rural areas. You see, because what exists in the rural areas is still master-slave relationship. You see, still even in Robertson Winery, workers said white workers earn much more. They earn as much as 18,000 rand. So these conditions still exist in a democratic South Africa. So from 1994 till now, nothing have changed. So this is an important struggle. It's not only for the Robertson Winery workers, but this strike must give confidence to the farm workers. That is why the farm workers have come out of support of the Robertson Winery workers. And the 24th of March and the 24th of September, there will be big march joined by farm workers. Because farm workers are saying, and the Robertson Winery workers are saying, we must unite. You see, we must unite. Because the farmers they unite against us.
Thank you, Trevor, for that. I want to go to Emile, who is from the Robertson Committee. Emile, tell our viewers at home, what are the conditions right now? And have there been any gains made for the 2012-2013 strike? What are the conditions now?
Okay. Op een huidige oomblik sit ons met die basisseele condities as 2 jaar gelede. Want niks het regtig verander nie. Ons is weer terug na ons werksplekke toe en ons word nog steeds behandel nie soos mense nie, ons human rights word blaatant van ons af weggevat. Ons moet by 3 klokke klok en ons het net 20 minute om soos te breakfast, jy moet na die loo toe gaan, jy moet jou ding doen, binne net 20 minute en jy 45 minute lunchtime. So as jy tyd uit is, nader dan moet jy 'n skriftelike warning teken as jy oor jou tyd gaan. So vir my is dit niks raar het verander, is net sê goed. Ek meen Robertson Winery in geheel vertel vir die wêreld, skep vir die wêreld 'n ander prentjie van mense word met dignity getreed en mense by leefbare salaris terwyl inteendeel mense nog steeds in poverty insit.
Baie dankie Emile vir daai prentjie wat jy nou vir ons geskep het. Rosalind Engelbrecht, Labour Rights Coordinator from Women on Farms. Can you give us the legal, the legislative, the labour relations environment in which this industrial action is taking place, noting that we had thousands of workers who are going through the same thing 2 years ago?
Well, actually, workers, especially if you look at this, the Doran strike, it started up spontaneously, and there were no union that were organizing the workers, which means it was organic, and there were no legal obligations in terms of how the strike started and how it panned out. But in terms with this strike, it is slightly different because it's a trade union that's involved. And I know it's going to have repercussions for the trade union as well. If anything outside of the legal side happened, like for instance, if a vineyard burn, it's going to have legal repercussions for the trade union.
Trevor, can we bring you in here? What would give us an idea of what those possible legal ramifications could be, and how will the bosses use it against CSAAWU?
You see, at the moment there's court order, no? And there's strike rules, no? That basically says that you're not allowed to interfere in the operation of the company.
Yeah.
You see, that is basically what exists. And if you, the company have tried on many occasions to provoke workers. So at the leadership, we have to explain to workers the tactic of the company. The company have gone so far to last week to lodge a application in the labor court, where they say that the labor court must charge us for contempt of court and arrest, and that the police must arrest us, you see. Now you can clearly see what type of people we are dealing with. We're dealing with very arrogant white Afrikaner Baskap. That is what we deal with. No? So it was not an easy thing for us to go on strike. In fact, we were forced in this situation. From the start, we have asked the Robertson Winery and the CSAAWU that we make use of Section 150, where the CSAAWU sent in experts to assist the parties further. Now, Robertson Winery clearly said to the CSAAWU, give them the strike certificate. No? And they said to the CSAAWU and they write to the CSAAWU. So clearly indication that they see, no, this is a Mickey Mouse, they can deal with us. But then we said to, if they say so CSAAWU give us the strike certificate, because that is what the law says. Right?
So in effect, the strike certificate is about giving workers the permission, the legal permission to go on strike.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we started then to mobilize the community, progressive organizations, locally and overseas.
Kan ek gou net vir daar vir jou stop, ek wil nou vir Nico inbring. Hy is mos 'n organizer, né, vir CSAAWU. Trevor praat nou van hoe julle die gemeenskap as 'n geheel georganiseer het. Steek vir ons 'n prentjie van die tipes organisasies en het julle support in Robertson?
Ja, daar is geweldige support van die gemeenskap se kant af vir hierdie staking van Robertson Winery. Wat CSAAWU gedoen het, is CSAAWU het gegaan en aan die strate gemaak met die members en ons gemeenskappe aangemoedig om uit te kom en ons te support vir die living wage. Want ek dink dat die majority van werkers in Robertson is nog steeds, hulle kry nog steeds slawelone. So werkers support ons in hierdie stryd.
Ek wil gou net hier vir Roslyn inbring. On the social media, there's a big campaign on social media to support the Robertson workers. And I noted there was a phrase that was used, apartheid backlog, in the wine industry and in the agricultural industry. Can you give us a bit of an explanation, particularly for our viewers at home? What does this mean? Because the adverts clearly seem to show, people, I think one of the women said, hulle maak baie lekker wyn. Now, what is behind that image of a really nice South African wine?
I think in reality, if people doesn't understand where the wine comes from, or the realities or the social conditions of the workers who are producing the wine, then there will definitely be, people will definitely be far removed if they don't understand where these workers and where they come from and why suddenly they rising up for a decent living wage. Because if you look back at few years ago, the agricultural sector has changed a lot, and even the nature of employment in terms of how workers are being employed. Because after 1994, there's been a casualization of the labor force and also feminization, which means that women has been at the receiving end. And a lot of workers have lost their jobs. And it has infiltrated their lives, their social lives, and how they work some farms, and also in terms of how they are employed currently, because we know after the strike there's been a massive backlash from farmers in terms of the hours that workers have to work. Especially for women, the hours were shortened. Most of the women are seasonal workers. They don't receive the same benefits. So I would understand why people would say it's also going back to slavery.
We're going to have to come back to that point. I think it's a very important point. But we're going to go now to Labour News.